Hey guys, welcome to Game Bad today for another video in our tactical weapon series. I think this is part 11 or 12. I'll link all the other parts down below. And today we're going to focus, you may see some repeats here from the previous iterations in this series. However, today we're going to focus on really good weapons here at the start of Season 3 of the Cold War integration into Call of Duty Warzone. So I'm going to go over, I think, 5 or 6 different weapons here that I think are very, very viable, that are definitely not considered meta, but I think are performed very, very highly. And some of them actually maybe some of the best weapons in the game. So we'll go through these very tactical, realistic builds here. Let me know down below what you think. If you're enjoying the content, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. The first one we're going to cover here, if you've been following the channel for some time, you recognize this one. This is my LVAW, my low visibility assault weapon. So back out here, this is based on our M13 is the base weapon. Now, this thing has been probably one of the most consistent weapons throughout the entirety of Warzone's life cycle here. So first off, with the barrel, we're going to go with the Tempest Cyclone. So it's going to give us that integral suppressor. So we'll get the sound suppression, bullet velocity, and we're going to stay off the minimap in Warzone, which is key. Cons here are going to be the ADS speed. So we'll go ahead and select that. Skip out on the laser, and for the optic, one that has always worked best for me is the integral hybrid or the hammer sight. So that'll allow us with the 3.25 and with the top mounted delta sight, so we can go from medium to close quarters combat if we need to. Only con is the ADS speed, but again, since we have the shorter barrel on this and it's really a compact weapon, it's not very slow at all. ADS speed, you're not going to notice it. So we'll select that. Skip out on the stock. For the grip, we're going to go with the rubberized grip tape to help control the recoil. It's a very high rate of fire, I believe a little bit over 900 rounds per minute here in game. And so what we want to do is have something a little bit on there to help control that recoil without hurting our ADS speed. So we're going to go with the rubberized grip tape for the recoil control, cons being the aim and stability, which not a big deal. We're going to make up for that with the next few attachments. We'll select that. Now the ammunition, the M13, like I said, because it has a really high rate of fire, a little bit over 900 rounds per minute here in game, the base 30 round magazine you're going to blow through very, very quickly. So you want to have at least a 50 round. In this case, I typically run anything outside, actually in any game mode, even outside, even solos. I don't think the base 30 round of 5.56 is good enough. You can get away with a 300 blackout in solos or duos, or sometimes even trios. But anything else with this type of build, you want the 60 round magazine. So you're going to double your ammo capacity from the 30 rounds of the 5.56 by 45 to the 60 rounds. So that'll give us double the magazine ammo capacity. The con is the ADS speed and the movement speed, which again, it's such a compact AR, you really do not notice it at all. So we'll go ahead and select that. And next attachment here is going to be the underbarrel attachment. So I've done a lot of different builds for this particular LVAW. And the one I always go back to is with the Commando foregrip. This combination Commando foregrip with everything I have on this weapon right now as I'm building it seems to always work the best for me. This is going to help us with the recoil stabilization and the aiming stability. And the cons, just the movement speed. So that is, I think, our best build for this. There's a couple different things you can switch out. You could run a Ranger foregrip on this if you were going to use something outside of the rubberized grip tape. If you wanted to run a tack laser or something else, the Ranger foregrip may be a better option. However, I noticed the combination of the Commando foregrip and the rubberized grip tape helps me control this weapon a lot. Very little recoil, high rate of fire, and like I said, with that grip tape on there, you don't really get a big kick, which is really good to see, especially with the current game and the spot where it is, where it's really wide open. There's no established meta right now here at the start of Season 3 on the new Warzone map. So we're only not even a week into the new map, like 4 or 5 days at this point. This weapon, I took it out a couple times. I've only played really 3 sit-down sessions on the new map, but I took this out a few times, and it always is just, it's always my go-to. The most consistent and viable weapon, in my opinion, in all of Warzone, if you're running an AR, is this build right here. If you haven't tried it, give it a try. Very, very underrated weapon. This thing, very accurate, shots on target, and like I said, you're getting shot with a lot of bullets very quickly, so people tend to panic when they get hit by this. So that's our SIG LVAW, or our Black Mamba by Sig Sauer. Next up, we're going to cover another one here is the Mark 46. So Mark 46, Mark 48, Mark 48 being the 7.62 by 51 version. So the Mark 46 is the 5.56 by 45 NATO. We'll strip this down. This is the Bruin at base. So what we're going to want here, specifically for Warzone build, and I've covered this one in the past, so we have a little bit of a different attachment on this for this particular build. So we're going to run with the monolithic suppressor. Again, sound suppression, damage at range. It'll keep us off the minimap in Warzone, which is good. Cons being the ADS speed and the aim walking steadiness, which this is not, we're not running a gunning with this. This is for suppressive support fire, and it works really, really well. So for the barrel option, the base barrel is very viable. However, we're going to go with the XRK Horizon 23-inch barrel. So that you can see the handguard on that. Gives us the Mark 46, Mark 48 handguard on there. Pros being the damage at range and the bullet velocity. And the cons being the aim down sight speed. Now, very similar stats to the 26-inch barrel. However, it's 26, you get the recoil control, but your mobility and ADS speed is just so slow with this build. So you really want the 23-inch Horizon, I think, is the best one to go with here. Makes this weapon, your ADS still is not bad, and the recoil on this is not bad at all. Very easy to control, especially how we're going to build this. So we'll go with the Horizon barrel for the Mark 46 conversion. Skip out on the laser. Now the optic, again, my favorite optic for a lot of weapons is always going to be the integral hybrid or the hammer. And I'll show you the reticle I run. I run different reticles on the LVAW versus this one. So the hammer sight, again, same pros and cons we looked at, and I'll show you the reticle here at the end of the build, which makes this even better in my opinion. Skip out on the stock as well as the perk. Rear grip we're also going to skip. Underbarrel, we're going to go with the Commando foregrip for the recoil stabilization and the aiming stability again. Because this weapon was nerfed at one point back in, I believe it was Season 5, where you used to be able to run this with a long barrel and no underbarrel attachment at all. And they nerfed it so you have a lot more horizontal and vertical recoil after that. So mainly horizontal. So the Commando foregrip is going to help out with that a lot. So you get the recoil stabilization, which is a horizontal recoil mainly, and the aiming stability, which is always good. Movement speed, again, doesn't hurt us very much, and we don't get any ADS bump for this, which is good. So we'll put on the Commando, and the final attachment here is going to be the 200-round belt. So this thing, I was playing a lot with this the past few days, this particular build, and the amount of fire you can accurately put on target is insane. So it's a lot of fun to use. You can just dump rounds, and I just find myself shooting in the direction of enemies just to suppress them. Just because it's fun. So the 200-round belt, you're going to double your ammo from the 100-round belt to the 200-round. Cons being the aim down sight speed and the movement speed. But again, not a big deal here. And again, you can see different options. You can put the Crazy Train on there, which actually looks really good too. But we'll run the default. So this is the Mark 46 build. One thing you can switch if you don't want the 200-round belt is swap the 200-round for the tac laser instead, and your ADS speed and movement. Everything's going to be a little bit better on that, especially your ADS. But that's our Mark 46 again. Very, very fun weapon to use. And 200-round belt, you can take out a whole squad with this if you get them in the right position. Take down enemies very, very easy. Same with the LVAW there. You have a very high rate of fire on this, so when you're hitting people, you're in succession accurately. They're going to go down quick, and they're going to panic too. So it's a really good weapon to have. And again, I really enjoy using this. Just leads to a lot of fun gameplay, especially on the new map right now where the meta is. This is definitely a lot of fun to use. So we'll go ahead and back out onto our next one here. Going to be the PKM. So the PKM, there's a few different builds here we can run. The same attachments overall as we just covered with the previous two weapons, specifically with the Mark 46, minus some. So we'll run the monolithic suppressor, obviously. VLK, because it's a Russian weapon, we can run the VLK. That's going to give us a zoom level. The ADS speed is actually going to be increased, or decreased, I should say. So we're going to get a better ADS speed out of this. And this optic actually has a hidden stats that help with recoil, which I hate running this unless it's a Russian weapon. And so this is a PKM is obviously Russian, so it works. I'm going to be running the 200-round belt on here. Same reasons I talked about with the SAW or the Mark 46. However, we have heavier caliber with this, being the 7.62 by 54 millimeter R, which is a much bigger bullet than the 5.56 NATO. Snatch grip is a unique attachment for the PKM. It'll help us with the recoil control and improve our ADS speed, which is the only underbarrel attachment that actually does this in the game. The cons being the movement speed overall, which really not bad. And then with this one, I like to run fully loaded. This is usually my ghost class. Run fully loaded on here because of the 200-round belt. I want to make sure I have enough ammunition. However, same thing with this. You can swap the fully loaded for the tac laser, or another thing you can do is go ahead and put on some of the different barrels instead of fully loaded. You can go ahead, or even the 200-round belt. If you wanted to, you could run a PKP Pecheneg with the 25.9-inch barrel. That'll give you the damage at range and the bullet velocity. The only cons here are going to be the ADS speed. So you can see that's our PKP Pecheneg. Or you can go ahead and put the 26-inch barrel, 27 almost, on there. That'll give it the same stats as the Pecheneg barrel. However, you get the recoil control with that as well, which is good. But I was using it here with the base barrel, this exact setup here that you see. And it really, there's not bad recoil at all. Yes, you're sacrificing some of the damage at range, but you don't really... Bullet drop is just very long range. This thing is still very, very, very accurate and deadly at the close to medium range engagements. Even out to further ranges, if you can mount this, you're going to be hitting targets. And again, fast rate of fire on this, I think it's like 800 rounds per minute, something like that. So you're going to hit players, and they're going to go down no matter what the range is, as long as you're hitting your shots and leading them right. So that's our PKM. You can make a couple different variations of that. And next up, we'll cover one more here for this particular video. That'd be the AK104. So the AK104, this is a weapon I covered a lot in the beginning of the Cold War integration. This is really the first, besides the M82, the first weapon I used. And that setup was a little bit different than this. What I had on that was the base suppressor, and then I had the 45... I think I had the 45 round mag on there at that point because I didn't need the 60 rounds. So they've made some changes since then with the attachments. I also at the time was running the Bruiser because that was doing the stats that the Spetsnaz was supposed to use. So what we do now is there's a couple changes you can make here. So the muzzle, you can run the GRU suppressor, which is going to give you, essentially it's your monolithic suppressor, but you do also get the vertical recoil control out of this. So that's definitely an option. However, one thing that I want to try, and it is a really good one here, for better recoil control is the KGB Eliminator. So this is going to give you the vertical recoil control better than the GRU. Also going to give you the aiming stability and the position concealment. And they actually updated this with Season 3, meaning that now you will only show up on the minimap very, very quickly, and then you'll disappear off the minimap when you're firing unsuppressed like this. So pretty unique attachment, and helps you control this particular build at the ranges you want to use it, which is basically close to inside 60 meters, I would say, is really your ideal range for this. The cons being the ADS firing mode, or firing speed, movement speed, the shooting movement speed, and the horizontal recoil control, which not a big deal in my opinion. If we can help with the vertical, this weapon, they also fixed the recoil pattern on this, so it doesn't have as much vertical recoil on it anymore. So you can really get away with using this. I think it'd be a really good option for the close range engagement. So yeah, I'd run the KGB Eliminator or the GRU Suppressor. Both very good options here, depending on how you want to play. If you want to risk showing up just for a split second, or not at all, you run the GRU. So next up is the 15.5-inch barrel. This is going to give us a 15.5 ultralight. This is just going to give us that AK104 barrel with a 90-degree gas block versus these other ones. All right, so we want the shortest one. It's just going to help with strafe speed. Since we're using it in mainly close quarters inside 50 meters, like I said, this is going to be a really nice barrel, and cosmetically, aesthetically, it gives us what we want. Next up, Cobra. Because it's a Russian weapon, we're going to want that Cobra red dot on there. Give us a 1.75 times zoom magnification. And apparently there's no pros and cons of this, which I'm not sure if that's really this true for Warzone, but I don't notice anything major. It's going to probably be your same pros and cons as a typical red dot on the modern warfare weapons, if there is any. Next up, you can go ahead and run the Bakelite 60 round magazine, give you the ammo capacity from 30 to 60 of the 7.62 by 39 millimeter. The cons being the ADS speed and the reload quickness. So this one, you just have better movement and mobility than the speed mag, from my experience, unless they fixed it, which it doesn't look like. I don't think they did. They might have, but this will give you better mobility and things like that for running around. You really don't need, you can even run the 45 rounds still, just because mobility-wise, you're going to move a little quicker too. And the base 45 is also an option. So really, personal preference, how you want to use this. I don't think you need 60. Like I said, you can get away with a 45 round magazine on this weapon, but if you're going to use a 60, the Bakelite would be a better option, just so your movement speed isn't so slow. And then the Spetsnaz grip being the last attachment for the vertical recoil control and the horizontal recoil control. So that'll kind of counteract the additional horizontal you're going to get from using that KGB Eliminator. And the cons being the firing movement speed and the ADS speed. So that is our AK104 build here. So those are some really interesting meta weapons. Not even meta, but they're weapons that I would say are very, very viable. However, I do see a lot more people running this Cold War AK, but really not a lot. A lot of people seem to still be running like an AMAX and FFAR, things like that. We have some other weapons that we'll cover here in another video, but again, just to recap, we have the SIG LVAW, or the Black Mamba, the Mark 46 conversion from the SAW, the PKM. You can make a couple different ones there with the base barrel PKM or even the PKP Pecheneg. We have the AK104. Now, those are the four we'll cover here. I have some other ones. You can probably see them on the screen here, but those are the best ones in my opinion right now. Some other ones are definitely very viable. These are just very underrated weapons that I don't see anybody using. besides the community. And like I said, this SIG LVIW is a lot of fun. So let me know down below what you guys think of these weapons. What are your favorite underrated meta weapons that really are not on the meta but are very viable? I get a lot of satisfaction out killing meta weapon players with these weapons. And again, if you have a good playstyle, you can get away with these easily. And these are very, very viable weapons, very consistent weapons. They're not bad by any means. So let me know down below what you guys think. This is our technical weapons series. I think number 12 we're on now. I'll link all the other ones down below. Thanks a lot for tuning in to view the video. Till next time, Buffner Gaming, out.